Welcome back, guys. So today we are going to be looking at the transform options. There are 5 basic transform options in Adobe Illustrator. We have the move, rotate, reflect, scale and shear. I'll be showing you quickly how all these things come into play when you are positioning your object or rotating your object, or displacing the location of your object from one point to the other. So the first we are going to look at the move to. So I have this object. I'm going to move this object by 200 points and then locate it at a particular angle. Now there, of course, you can use your selection tool to move your object around, right? But if you want to specifically position your object at a particular location in Adobe Illustrator, the best transform option to use is the move to. Now if you select your object and you right click, you're going to find the transform options here. You can see we have the five of them here. You can also go to objects and you can find the transform option here again. So I'm going to select the move. First thing I want to do is to change the distance to 200 points. You see that? And then change the angle. Let me change it to, of course, minus 90 degrees is same thing as 270 degrees. Let me change it to 90 degrees. I'll click OK. You're gonna go here. Okay, let me do that again. Right click, go to transform, click on move, change this to 200, change this to 90. I'm gonna copy. If I click OK, I'm gonna move the object quickly from this position to this position. Once I make a copy, the reference object will still be here while a copy will be made at the new location. So I'm gonna click copy to see what happens. Select this again, transform, move, 200, let me try 270 degrees, make a copy again, see what happens. Click on this, transform, move, select 180, make a copy, see what happens again. Let me do one more. You can take out time to practice the rest. 0 degrees. 0 degrees is something as 360 degrees. 360 degrees. Make a copy. Yeah. So these are basically how to use your move to shift an object from one location to the other. The next transform option we are going to look at is the rotate tool. So if I select these two objects, there are 2 ways of doing this. If I right click on this object, I quickly go to my transform, go to rotate, select the angle I want to rotate this to. Originally this is located at 0 degrees. Now if I change this to 90 degrees and let me make a copy, see what happened. 90 degrees. Let me undo this, right click again, transform, rotate. Let me try to make it 45 degrees. Make a copy. It's going to transform that to 45 degrees. Here you could basically find the rotate button here. Once I select this object, you could see this particular center point that is located here. That means this object is going to rotate in accordance with this center point here. So if I click at anywhere and then rotate this object, you could see that reference point becomes the exact point of rotation. Let me undo this. If I click on this center point and locate it elsewhere, maybe here, if I rotate, here will now become the reference point of rotation. If I rotate this object, you see it goes round that reference point. Let me undo this. If I move it to this direction and rotate, it's going to reference this particular location as the point of rotation. See that? So once I achieve what I want, I can stop. The same thing happens here. If I select this object, click on my rotate button, here becomes the center of reference. I can rotate it from the center. If I don't like it this way, I can click at the middle point of reference and drag it to another location and then rotate. There becomes the new center of rotation. Now let's look at the reflect. Reflect is like a mirror. Right, remember the last time we talked about repeating options we have in Adobe Illustrator, the one located on the object. When you click on your repeat, you find the mirror. Now I'm going to do reflect is just the similitude of a mirror. Now you can see I've created an object, but I still want to have this particular arm at this left side of this body, right? So if I select the two objects, if I right click on it, when I go to transform, I'm going to find reflect. If I select reflect, the vertical part is selected. That means if I'm going to flip this object, if I'm going to reflect this object, it's going to be reflected vertically. If I select horizontal, that means it's going to be reflected horizontally. Now let me maintain vertical location, and then I'm going to make a copy. Once I make a copy, that basically means that the initial hand is still going to be there, the reference hand is going to be there, while the new hand will be copied. So if I click copy, I can hold my shift key and drag it to a new location. You can see I've already made a new copy of this. Now still on this, I can go to my rotate tool here. If I right click on that, I will find my reflect option there. Once I click on that, you can see a point comes here, point of reference comes here. So if I click and rotate, you can see I'm beginning to reflect this object to a new position. I'm transforming it, I'm reflecting it to a new position. So whatever you want to do, however you want it to be positioned, you are at liberty to do just that. All right, I'm going to undo this. Let me have it this way. So this is basically how to use the reflex to do this. So if you want to have much more room, much more options to play around with, you basically have to select the go to object, use transform button here, select reflex, and play around this and achieve whatever you want to achieve. The next we are going to talk about is scaling. This is just the increase or decrease in size of a particular shape or object. So if I select this object and I right click, go to transform, you could find scale here. If I click on that, there is a uniform scale and there is non-uniform scale. The uniform scale basically means that the horizontal scaling and the vertical are the same at all time, right? While the uniform scaling is that one is increasing while the other is decreasing. So if I increase this, you see that I'm using the wheel button of my mouse to increase the size. So you can see every part of this object is increasing equally, right? But if I select non-uniform, if I start scaling one part, the other side will remain dormant. So you can see what's going on here. Now let me undo this, right click, transform, select scale. Let me try to scale it by 200 and click OK. You see this object has been increased by 200. Now there are still options here that I can still do that with. You can see where I have my scale tool here. Once I select the scale here, you can see this point becomes my center of reference. That means if I click and drag, the increase is going to be happening at this from this center of reference. So if I click and drag, you can see because I'm not holding my shift key, you could see that the increase is just distorted. But if I hold my shift key, holding my shift alt key, it's increasing equally. But if you're not holding any of this key, it begins to scale non-uniformly. So the last one I want to share with you is the Shear tool. The Shear tool is basically used to distort. You can still find it the same place where we have our move, reflect, and the rest. So if I select this object, this particular object, if I right click on it, move to transform, click on shear, so you could see that the shear angle is 0 degrees here. That means if I begin to change this angle, you see what's going on here, right? So this is 45 degrees. If I make a copy of this, let me give it another color. Let me select the main object again, go back to transform, click on shear, and I'm going to make it 135 degrees. 135 degrees. See, something happened. I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to make this, give it the same color, give it orange color. There is still Shear tool in your option here. When you right click at the button here, you will see your Shear tool here. Once I click on that, you can see I have your reference option. Now basically whenever you are working with transform option and you are using the two buttons here, it will always give you a center point of reference, right? So if I click and drag, this object is going to be transforming based on this center point. Let me undo this. Let me select this again, the main circle, try to distort this object, you can see it's being distorted from the center. Alright, I hope you've been able to add one or two things to the skills that you've acquired so far in Adobe Illustrator. Alright, see you in the next video.